He said, there's enough of these Americanisms around. Couldn't you sing She Loves You? Yes,
I remember reading about that.
And we went, no. It's
No.
quite sweet. And we did.
Hi, everyone. Continuing on with the Beatles project, and today I am listening to When I'm 64 from the Sgt. Pepper's album. This album has been so much fun, and it's not finished yet, so let's just continue this enjoyable journey. Well, as you know, I have already done my first listen when I sat down and listened to the entire album, start to finish, in one go. So today, I am sitting down again to explore in more detail and pause and play around, and you know how we like to do. So, let's play for you the first listen, put that fresh in your mind, and then I'll read. The official genre classification for this song is pop and music hall. My dad was an instinctive musician, related Paul in the book Anthology. He played trumpet in a little jazz band when he was younger. I unearthed a photo in the 60s which someone in the family had given me, and there he is in front of a big bass drum. That gave us the idea for Sgt. Pepper. I hadn't heard that little bit of the story before. He played piano from when I was born. To this day, I have a deep love for the piano, maybe from my dad. It must be in the genes. He was my musical education. There was none in school. We never got music lessons. He would always point out things like the chord changes at the beginning of Stairway to Paradise. Dad was a pretty good self-taught pianist, but because he hadn't had training himself, he always refused to teach me. In the end, I learned to play by ear just like him, making it all up. And so that's how Paul ended up playing piano. I started fiddling around on my dad's piano, Paul remembers. I wrote When I'm 64 on that when I was still 16. It was all rather tongue-in-cheek. And I never forgot it. I wrote that tune vaguely thinking it could come in handy in a musical comedy or something. Like I say, I didn't know what kind of career I was going to take back then. What 16-year-old does. Maybe a handful of them. I wasn't necessarily looking to be a rock and roller. When I wrote When I'm 64, I thought I was writing a song for Sinatra. I hadn't thought of that, but it actually fits. The melody of When I'm 64 was fully worked out by the time I was about 16. It was one of my little party pieces, and when we were on the lookout for songs for the Beatles, I thought it would be quite good to put words to it. I never did anything with it until I was about 24, and then we put the words to it. I hit upon the idea that 64 would be more amusing than 65. To be just shy of retirement age. I was always trying to put a little twist on things, rather than, in this case, writing a straight-up music hall song. Interesting hearing his thoughts about the development of it. And he was kind of young when he wrote it, wasn't he? At least the tune. Still, kind of young even when he wrote the words. Well, let's dive in and have some fun. Isn't it interesting how, well, first of all, I love the choice of clarinets. I have this mixed relationship with clarinets, actually. It's a sound that sometimes is perfect and incredible, and other times I think, why didn't they use either oboe or saxophone? Kind of clarinets feel like they're somewhere in the middle between the two. And for me, sometimes I feel like somebody made the wrong choice. But here, I think it's the perfect choice. I do. And I like the fact that there's a bass clarinet in there as well. Maybe that's what makes it balance out. It gets a little bit more of the rough, gritty sound that clarinet can give, and balances out the super smooth sweetness of the instrument. It's such a jaunty little tune. So I feel like the clarinets just give a nice bit of humor without being too over the top, crazy, ridiculous. And it's so interesting to me that we have this little da-da-da-dum, bum, da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. And then I expect to hear, when I get older, or there's a voice coming in there. But instead you have to wait. Jaunty. To wait. And so it's this moment of, now that I'm thinking about it, we could take this several different ways. It could be a sort of, oops, I wasn't quite ready to start singing. And so the accompaniment just keeps on going and waits till you find your spot, and then everybody continues together. It could be just a moment to make us, after that jaunty little opening, to give us just this moment of reflection. Because really, this song is a strange mix. It's a sweet mix. A bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit humorous, even clowning around a little bit. At the same time, the sentiments expressed are so endearing and beautiful. So it's this funny mix of, okay, a little poking fun, a little bit fun and funny. At the same time, the idea that I'm thinking about a relationship with somebody and I really want it to last for the whole life, don't I? And I'm not just crazy and over my head in love right now, but I'm thinking a long ways down the road. Is this going to be what I really, would you give me? Or do you want this as much as I want it? And can we have this beautiful relationship all through our lives, even into our retirement, or just shy of retirement, as Paul said, years? And so it kind of starts us off cute, fun, lively, and then pause for a minute. Really think. When I get older, losing my hair. And I like the instrumental mix. It's light, but it works so well. We have the clarinets and the bass, which is really doing quite a simple oompa type bum 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 bum. Maybe I'll even try to play along on the harp with it in a moment, because I think the harp could kind of blend in down there in that bass nicely. But then one of my favorite spots as we're getting going is how, after all this jaunty, lively cuteness business happens, then as the voice is just getting underway in the melody, picking up this jaunty quality, the clarinets come in with this long, sustained chord, and they just hold it there, and it helps to smooth everything out and keep it from getting too circus-like in quality. Listen to what happens here. It's such a nice... And this little da-da-da-da-dum, which is also a nice little, just throw it in, fill in the gap, but it reflects so well the overall feel that is being built in this piece at the very beginning. And then the piano comes in with this little, simple little chink, 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 chink. And that's all it is. And as I'm thinking about what Paul McCartney said about his piano playing and how it developed by ear, listening to his father's playing, listening to music, it helps me understand his approach to the keyboard and the way that he manages to create these beautifully apt little piano moments in the music. And yet none of it is really technically demanding. I mean, maybe it's a good thing that he didn't actually have a piano education in the way that a lot of people do, because maybe he would have tried something more elaborate. But here we just have ching, 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 ching. And doesn't it fit perfectly? Let's try playing along. When I get older. This piece, I like all these special little moments. I like the way that we have this light instrumentation where each instrument is contributing something. I mentioned the bass, just bum, bum, but it's set so clearly that every little flourish in the bass adds a sweet, nice touch to the whole thing. We feel it, we hear it, we notice it. It's not being covered up by all kinds of stuff happening above. And same thing with the clarinet accompaniment, which also is not terribly elaborate. It's just this jaunty little tune and sort of counter melodies and little bits of accompaniment, like this little bit here, where we have, as I mentioned, just that. Many years from now. Just that little insertion. It works so well. Okay, let's keep going.
Birthday greetings, bottle of wine.
This beautiful clarinet part. Actually, that's B flat. Just a cadence there, sustained through this cute, quirky, jaunty melody that's bouncing along in its happy little way.
Greetings, bottle of wine.
Suddenly, so nothing ever stays the same way too long. We don't have this long, drawn out, sustained lines in the clarinet. We have this little bit to smooth it, help the transition, let the voice shine, let the voice carry the jaunty quality. And then here come the clarinets again, changing. Dum bum 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 bum. The other thing that stands out to me about this piece is how incredibly chromatic it is. If we look at the basic shape of the melody, let's do that for a moment. And the harmonies. Well, let's just take a look at the harmonies here. We've got a C in the intro, F, G, C. These are classic. And actually we're in C sharp, so consider these each F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, but I'll keep it simple for the sake of easy speech. And then the first, when I get older, losing my hair many years from now, that's your classic C chord. When I get older, losing my hair many years from now. And then it stays on that G chord. Will you still be sending me a Valentine? Will you still be sending me a... Let's make sure I've got a G sharp major. Will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings. Finally a C. The actual harmony chords underneath are simple, and we could say that the harmonic rhythm is quite slow. It's very much like a simple harmonic support for, let's say, a straightforward folk song or a straightforward song style. Just, so far, 2 chords, right? For the entire verse up to this point. When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. And then same thing repeats. Still the C. If I've been out till 2:45, would you... Okay, now we have a little C7, but still it's basically C. Would you lock the door? Now we shift to an F chord. That's where that beautiful clarinet line comes in, right? Where it's... If I'd been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Nice little cadence. Then it picks up a bit here. It picks up quite a bit here. The harmonic rhythm increases significantly. We've been just dealing with C, G, C, F, and then suddenly F minor, C, A, D, G7, C, which is pulling us, kind of driving us towards the cadence so that, again, we have enough contrast. It doesn't get dull. It doesn't start feeling too much one way or the other. The balance in this song is really nice in the contrasting elements. And notice how, because we haven't actually gotten to this point in the music yet.
Wine. If I'd been out till 2:45.
And then bum, bum, bum. And if you listen to the instrumentation there, as the harmonies pick up, the instruments are doing something very simple. Just chord, 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 bum, bum, bum. They're saving all the flourishes for the moments where the chords are passing much more slowly. It's one of the reasons that it doesn't sound too overwhelming at that point. But it gives us a little bit of harmonic liveliness throughout that passage. So back to my comment about chromaticism, because the whole reason I was bringing up these slow chord changes is to point out how much chromatic stuff we have going on in here, really. Will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, a bottle of wine. Or you could just play a game of count how many non-diatonic notes, how many chromatic notes are there in here. In fact, let's go to the piano for this for just a second, because piano works really well for this sort of thing. So we have, right in the first 4 notes, we have the C sharp here, twice. We have the B flat. And it's not just that we have a C sharp and a B flat. We have it right packed between C, D. So we're just walking up semitones. I like the way also that this birthday greeting is the exact same thing as will you still be, just half speed. Add some emphasis there. Birthday greeting, a little bit lumpy in a way. Ah. I want to know the name of an actor. Spencer Tracy, that's it. I mean, I'm thinking back to the old black and white movies that Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy did together. And their dynamic, well, let's not get too far off track here, but somehow this tune makes me think of Spencer Tracy. Sort of lumpy, bumpy, down to earth in a lot of ways, charming, sweet, but always with a little bit of, can I say misshapenness? Not really. I guess I would say lumpiness around the edges. I'm just going to use the word lumpy because it fits my perception of Spencer Tracy. And this music has the same sort of lumpiness. And maybe I'm using this word lumpy in a weird way, but somehow it just fits in my mind, both this piece of music and how I perceive Spencer Tracy. I mean, listen to this. There's something very, I'm bouncing around. So many things coming to mind as I dig into this piece. It also, maybe one of the reasons I'm going back to this sort of black and white movie world is because it reminds me of that era, like post World War I, pre World War II. This era, something in this music. Well, actually, Sinatra is not too far off, because he kind of embodied that style, that vibe, and this just catches it. It's a little bit jazzy, little bit slippy, slidey. But then when we slow it down to half the speed, that is such a great moment of kind of putting the brakes on and saying, we're not getting too slippery. We're not getting too smooth and mushy here. We are going to keep it a little bit earthy quality. And then we just slide down the scale again. All of this is something that the chromaticism helps with, but there is an incredible amount of chromatic, or should I say, sliding between the notes, almost as if you're playing this on a saxophone, on a violin, somewhere where you can just, or on a trombone, right? Where you can slide between the notes a little bit. And why am I saying all of this? It's because this tune, as jaunty as it is, as delicate as it is at the same time, as sweet and sensitive as it is, this chromaticism is one of the things that helps it be all of that. And it catches so much personality and character, and it's so expressive that it conjures so many ideas. This is why I'm bouncing from a certain movie era to a certain actor to the music, because it brings all of that to mind, doesn't it? And it's charming in its simplicity. Okay, let's keep listening.
You still feed me when I'm 64.
Isn't this nice? Where we have an almost canonic little thing happening here. We have the clarinets coming in. That lovely line. But the chorus, also the voices, they come in just a bar later. So the clarinet comes, and then the voices come. It's kind of hard to demonstrate. Maybe I should do it in 2 different octaves. Let's call this the clarinet here. No, let's call this clarinet here. How should I do this, really? I'm trying to think. Okay, we'll make this be the clarinet. This is where you hear the clarinet. That's what's happening. So the clarinet starts, and then the voices start on the same notes, and they start following the clarinet. It's not an exact canon, but it gives the impression of... You see how it's one following the other, and that, as we have this lively little every summer we can rent a cottage,
64.
that was a sort of anticipation. The descent here is one thing, but notice what the voices did at the end. Moving back up to the same point. And if we listen to this, which shifts into A minor, it's the same sort of rhythm. Dum, bum, bum. Okay? You'll be old. It's actually the same 3 notes as the lower duet part in there. Right? As that starts is also what happens here. You'll be older too. And so there's this link between the two. It's as if the voices that are in the background are somehow preparing us to hear this shift into the minor and this change of pace from the jaunty, every summer we can rent a cottage in the Isle of Wight if it's not too dear, and then you'll be older too. But it didn't come out of the blue, because while he was singing all that cottage in the Isle of Wight business, the clarinets and the voices were preparing us not only the pitches, but the rhythm of it. And there it starts. It starts to feel this is what I'm going to call the Spencer Tracy moment, where he just manages to try to do everything just right, and he manages to get it wrong. Speaking of, some of the movies that he's done with, that he did with Katharine Hepburn. The out-of-tune clarinet. Isn't that sour? Like they just couldn't quite make it up there.
You'll be alright.
And in this passage, where the voice, the melody, is the smoother part, the piano, dee 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 dee, is kind of doing what was happening back in the every summer we can rent a cottage. So you can hear the different textures being tossed around, one instrument to another, one voice to another, as we travel through all this different stuff happening. And this section here is definitely anchored in the A minor tonality, which is also a contrast to the major that we had at the beginning. But there are so many pieces of glue and lines of connection between the two that bind them so closely together. It flows so nicely one to the other. And I'm not going to back up now because it will come back around. So we'll get to enjoy it less interrupted as it comes back around.
With you.
With you. I hear this sort of tongue-in-cheek element of it. It's almost as if this line, we shall scrimp and save. It's almost as if they're singing it in a sort of almost sarcastic manner, as if this is a young person who's talking about all this stuff, but kind of being a little bit poking fun at the same time. Like, really, I'm young. And I can't imagine myself doing that. But at the same time, I want that to be my old age. And so we shall scrimp and save. We've seen, it's this funny little moment. And it keeps it from getting too dark, too worn out. Like this song does such a great job of capturing both the love of life that young people have, as well as the youthfulness that hopefully we preserve and still feel within ourselves as we age. And as we physically look and act older, still, the young at heart, still have this sort of youthful attitude towards life. And it's such a fun mix of, will you still be sending me a Valentine, birthday greetings, a bottle of wine? Like, is that what you're going to care about when you're older? But really, who doesn't love to? We young people, we get this idea that old people are just these old, worn out, boring personalities that don't really have much color, much spice. But Valentine, birthday greetings, bottle of wine. If I'd been out till 2:45, who at 64 is going to be out till 2:45? That's like what you do in your 20s. Vlad's raising his hand behind the camera. And then it jumps back in. When I'm 64, oh, you'll be older too. Don't start thinking that I'm just going to be the old guy here. You'll be older too. We'll both be getting old together. Or at least we'd like it to be together. I could stay with you. I could be handy mending a fuse. Okay, now he goes into this list of really ordinary life tasks, daily tasks. When your lights have gone, you can knit a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride. The sort of activities that old people do, right? Doing the garden, digging for weeds, the mundane, everyday. Who could ask for more? This contrast, birthday greetings, bottle of wine, and then doing the garden, digging the weeds, mending a fuse. You know, it's this dream of loving every moment of life and having a perfect life together. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me? When I'm 64, there is a young man's dream, right? At least back when this was written, to find a girl who could feed him well. And then we get to the verse that we're in now. Every summer we can rent a cottage in the Isle of Wight, if it's not too dear. We shall scrimp and save. Okay, this is coming from, this is being written from a member of the Beatles who are really quite successful and have no need of scrimping and saving, to my knowledge. But somehow they captured this in such a, or he captured this in such a beautiful way. Grandchildren on your knee, Vera, Chuck, and Dave. Well, let's listen to that. This scrimp and save. Okay, I'm doing it in sort of a na tone, but it kind of morphs and evolves through. It starts, we shall scrimp and save, and it becomes inviting and pleasant and like, you know, kind of riding the gentle waves and enjoying the ebb and flow. And it's almost saying, okay, we're disdainful of that life in our youth, but as we really get into real life and start to feel it, the scrimping and the saving and the working and the struggles and the ordinariness, we start to feel how beautiful it is and how meaningful and precious these moments are. We shall scrimp and save. It becomes something delightful, something even comforting. And all in the voices here. From the piano, from the, well, let's just go through. I can't help but comment again on the way that the clarinet is anticipating and extending this line. Grandchildren on your knee. Okay, short, ordinary, but the clarinet starts it earlier and higher. Then it arrives just a moment later. Grandchildren on your knee, but it arrives on the same note. So it's kind of extending and making a little more elegance and ease in that line. Grandchildren on your knee. Bum, 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 bum. So good. Bum, bum, bum. This is where I can hear the sort of Sinatra vision, the post-World War I quality, where we have this clarinet singing a duet with the voice.
Send me a postcard.
Da-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum. A little bit jazzy there, a little bit, this sort of entertainment style, but it's so warm, it's so comfortable, it's so entertaining, the classic movie scene with somebody at the piano, maybe a little bit of dancing. First, the clarinet is below the voice. I'm getting ahead of my own words here. First, the clarinet is singing lower than the voice, kind of an alto, and then they switch parts and sings a sort of upper harmony. We never lock in to, not thinking of it. That's maybe the secret in this song and the secret of life. We never get locked in too rigidly to any particular track or idea. idea. Whether it's the way the instruments take their turns and move from one to the other, or the harmony pace changes, we learn to adapt. We learn to, we are flexible within our musical life here, and different ones take the lead at different times. Isn't that the perfect recipe for a perfect life? So lovely. And then, whoo, you got to keep the spice in there. You have to. If you're going to get through life like this and still be crazy in love with each other at 64, you've got to have those fun little excitement, the freedom to express your excitement and your fun and your nonsense along the way.
Will you still need me?
Guitar in there too, which adds such a nice touch, but it's very gentle in the background.
Indicate precisely what you mean to say.
So nice. This is like the expression of what it is to live a perfect life. It's not about how much money you have, how much fame, how successful you are. It's not about how easy life is. This is an acknowledgement that life is pretty ordinary when you come around to it. It's ordinary, and the perfect life is when you can enjoy every little ordinary moment. Doing the garden, digging the weeds. Who could ask for more than to do this? I could do some things for you. I'll fix your fuse. You can knit a sweater by the fireside. We'll go for a ride together on Sunday mornings. We can anticipate and work towards a special treat, a very simple special treat, like renting a cottage for the summer, a little outing. We can look forward to grandchildren bouncing on our knee. All of this is so ordinary. But I guess the message is that the ordinary is where the beauty lies. And it's not because it's ordinary, but it's because any life is made up of those ordinary things, and it's how we relate to those ordinary moments and with whom and how that is experienced that makes it a beautiful, special life. And then this last verse, which just, if it weren't for this last verse, it would be an okay song. Yeah, okay. Everything I've been talking about, nice sentiments, nice perspective. But then, send me a postcard, drop me a line, stating point of view. Hold on, point of view about what? Oh, I forgot. This is a sort of marriage proposal. What a non-dramatic, even non-romantic in the popular idea of what romantic means, sense of the word. Send me a postcard, drop me a line, stating point of view. Indicate precisely what you mean to say. Yours sincerely, wasting away. That's the line where you suddenly realize this person is madly in love. He feels like he's just wasting away and just can't live. He's never said a word about, I can't bear to be without you. It's been all this ordinary life together. Yours sincerely, wasting away is how he signs his name. Give me your answer. Fill in a form. Oh, back to the, this is what makes life tick, is the ordinary, the technical. Give me your answer. Fill in a form. Oh, we're talking about a wedding here, but not a wedding. Just the legalities of fill in a form. Mine forevermore. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? And this, will you still feed me? You know, I kind of joked about it earlier because this is humorous. This is kind of a music hall entertainment style, especially when you listen to the music. It is that. And we can't get too serious about it, but that's the whole idea. We can't get too serious about life either. But think about this. Will you still feed me? It's not just about, will you put good food on the table for me? Will you feed my need, my desire for you? Will you be available for me? And at the same time, will you feel a need for me at that point in life? In other words, this is how I want us to live. I want us to feel like we each feed each other, like we each make each other's life richer. Like as much as, okay, we could get along on our own. In fact, there are hints that it would be okay. You could send me a Valentine, birthday greeting, bottle of wine, long distance. You know, we're writing letters right now. This is a letter. This is not even a phone call. This is just a written proposal for life together. I won't even say a marriage proposal. It's a request for life together. And even that, of course, is meant to be sort of tongue-in-cheek humorous. But all of this, as much as some of it, we tip our heads and say, huh, really? At the same time, it's what it expresses and the picture it portrays. It shouldn't be taken perfectly literally. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be taken perfectly seriously. Neither should it be just laughed off. We have to catch the right balance in order to appreciate this. And I think he's made it very easy for us to do that. When I'm 64, and then ha at the end, and everything turns into this, very classic entertainment texture feel, and it wraps up bum bum bum. That's it. That was my little show tonight, and we realized, oh, it was somebody playing on the piano, just a cute little thing. But it expresses so much deeper than that, doesn't it? And then let's think about where this sits in the context of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club album, because we have to take that into account as well. We've just passed through a couple songs ago, Within You, Without You, with all its fantastic exoticism. And then we just came from being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. And I say that being simply because I'm still amused by the way Lennon insisted on having that full title, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, which is circus. And this is still in a mild sort of entertainment style, not so much as the circus one, but it makes a good transition, doesn't it? It doesn't just flip us insanely like when we came from Within You, Without You to the circus. That was rather a shock, wasn't it? But now we're being gradually led out of that circus mentality to just a simple, lighter entertainment style with a little more, some profoundness to it within that entertainment style. You can sit and you can take this and you can feel how precious the sentiments are. And, I have to say, for a 24-year-old to write these sorts of lyrics, it's a far cry from I Want to Hold Your Hand, or what was the one way back that was about a telephone call you on the telephone? Oh, there were a couple about, I don't remember which one was which, but
Anytime at all.
Anytime at all, yes. Okay, so this is kind of still, in a way, the same sentiments, but in a much more mature perspective, and looking far into the future. From 24 to 64, we're talking a good 40 years down the road. Well, okay, yes, he was trying to be funny with the 64 number as well, wasn't he? But still, you can't say it's just all for the sake of being ridiculous. It is beautiful. And, well, that's how I feel about it. That's my second bit of attention to this song and digging into the score a bit, it'd be a fun one to play. It'd be a fun one to play together. And maybe we'll have to figure out a way to do that sometime. But here we are, and I'll see you soon.